Ahoy, my friends, Ryder here, and welcome back to another Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video. Today, I'm going to be doing my banner review, to pull or not to pull on Barret's new Rebirth crossover draw. This is definitely, I think, probably the best choice out of all the Rebirth stuff that we've gotten so far. In my opinion, Aerith was a bit lackluster. If you missed Bahamut Rod, it was a mediocre replacement for it. Then we got Yuffie, which was definitely great. Don't get me wrong, Yuffie was still pretty great. But being tied to just one single element, I mean, I guess you could still put it in the offhand for other elemental builds with that exploit weakness. So Yuffie was actually pretty dang good. But Barret here is looking to be maybe the best one so far, and that might just be not necessarily for the weapon. I think the weapon is good. I think it could have been a little bit better. But the costume, guys, is pretty damn phenomenal. And it does look like we are getting a new King of the Tanks in the game. So it does look like Angeal is going to be taking a step back. Not to say that he won't be usable, guys, for all of you like true Angeal fans out there. I still think that Angeal is going to be great at what he does. But I do think that while Barret has his new missing score, and while we wait for Angeal to get his new ultimate weapon, I think Barret is going to seize the throne for a little while, right? Alright, so let's go in here and let's take a look. First things first, let's take a look at the animation. I've seen this one, guys, and it is pretty freaking great, alright? So let's just... Pretty freaking sick. I think it looks awesome, guys. The animation for his attack is super cool. Honestly, the animation for the missing score ultimate weapon is also pretty sick. So I'm pretty hyped, but I'm a Barret fan, you know. And so it's nice to see him get what I believe is his first ever limited banner. So pretty crazy. So let's go ahead and try on this costume right here. As you guys saw in my patch updates video, he's so freaking big that you can't zoom out all the way to see him. But guys, I mean, look at this freaking costume. It looks absolutely awesome. For any of you guys that have played Monster Hunter, this looks like Rathalos armor. Like the kind of, you know, burnt crimson color, or like the burnt color of blood right here. And then you've got just everything here that's vibing with the Dragon King Varvados thing that he's got going on. He's got this like kind of green cloak right here. He's got all the armor. The Fafnir Rifle looks super cool. I like the gold trim on it, the little line of gold or green light right there as well. It just looks pretty freaking awesome, guys. So I'm pretty psyched. I think that they're going to be hard pressed to make a better looking costume for Barret, but at least they have something to aspire towards, right? Other than that, let's actually take a look at the costume itself. Alright, and let's just go through this, guys. This costume right here for a tank build is, I'd say, one of the best in the game, if not the best in the game. I mean, so let's take a look at what he gets. So he gets Reprieve, meaning that at any point in time in the battle, if Barret is killed, he is going to trigger an invincibility, and then restore 25% of his max HP and come back to life, right? For a tank, this is like absolutely essential and amazing to have, right? So very, 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 very good first R ability here with Reprieve. Then on top of that, guys, you get Dragon King's Mask. Now, I wasn't sure what the percent on this was going to be when I saw it was fire, ice, lightning, earth, water, wind resistance. I thought that they probably could have got away with 10%, but, you know, upon clicking this and seeing that it's actually 20% across the board, really made me happy about this costume. It looks amazing, and the costume itself is amazing. It has a very wide functionality across the board, you know, meaning that this isn't something that's just going to be tied to one thing. Like, it's not like an Ice Arcanum costume where, you know, outside of fighting ice content, the costume is most of the time essentially useless, right? But this costume is going to have a wide array of options and viability for using it through many contents in the game, right? So, you know, I could see this costume lasting a long time for him, guys. And Barret tends to get these very good costumes, right? So he had Electro armor. So let's go and actually look at the Electro armor. and see how different it is, because Electro Armor was still pretty good. I don't even know if I've ever used Barret in a party team. Alright, so let's just go down and we'll just like make him one right here. Not that one. Let's go down to, we'll do this one. And let's swap out Yuffie, and let's take a look at his Electro Armor, which is still pretty damn good, guys. Alright, so let's best equip him really quick, and there it is. Alright, so the first one is boost HP plus 10 points, right, which gets him HP plus 15%, so pretty good. And then he has Indomitable Soul here. This gives him physical and magic defense plus 20%, and physical and magic attack plus 10%. Now, Barret doesn't really need the physical and magic attack, but the physical and magic defense is actually pretty damn solid. So, you know, I'm not quite sure how this pairs when you look at like physical magic defense 20% or like ice resistance 20%, right? So it's definitely still a very good costume. However, I would take the reprieve over the HP 99% of the time, or maybe 90% of the time. Sometimes you just know you're not going to die, right? But like, anyway, so Barret tends to get these pretty well-rounded costumes, but he doesn't really get them that often. So who knows when the next time Barret will get a costume, let alone a limited costume, guys. So, you know, I know there's some of you out there that have just been saving all his character-specific weapon parts, like crossing your fingers and hoping that he finally gets a weapon. I hope that you guys are out there, and I hope that you only have to get one copy of this weapon and you can basically OB10 it. I think that would be freaking awesome. I am, you know, partially an idiot, so I spent some of my Barret-specific weapon parts on other things because I thought, man, they're never going to take away a banner from Tifa or Cloud or Sephiroth or Aerith and give it to Barret or Lucia or Matt or Glenn. I mean, actually, Glenn has got one, right? But, yeah, so, you know, but I still have 400, so hopefully that goes well. All right, so let's go back. Let's take a look at the weapon here, right? Now, here we have it at OB1 level 120. Alright, so command ability Dragon's Roar, 4 ATB cost, deals 390% physical non-elemental damage, crit rate 10%. It invokes Provoke, which lasts 60 seconds, and Veil, which has a potency 6% of max HP of the affected at base 5-star, right? Or OB1, which also lasts 45 seconds. Then, when Barret's HP is 70% or more, physical defense is increased, potency mid, range all allies, duration 16 seconds. So I guess with this coming with Veil and Provoke on it, it does make sense that it's mid at base 5-star. Although it does feel lately, there was a point in time in the game where I felt like, you know, we were getting a lot of like mid to high base 5-star weapons, and then it would go high on the first cast at OB6. So like if you really wanted to, you know, push for that better mark, that better cast, you could take it to OB6, but it would still have the same viability at base 5-star. You would just have to double cast the weapon, which in battles can be kind of a pain. For all of you guys that, you know, have been playing and fighting the hard content in the game, you know that sometimes a double cast just isn't viable in a certain fight. So I really like that about it. It does, to me, feel like Applebot has reeled back from that. They are, I feel like with a ton of recent banners, pushing for players to go to OB6. They're pushing, and they're not just pushing, you know, in that regard, right? They're pushing in regard to the amount of limited banners we've had, and it's just become overkill, in my opinion, completely rampant and not good for the game, as many of you guys already know. But I do think that it makes sense right here why it is mid to mid right here, because it is giving Veil and Provoke as well. So it's doing 3 different things, and so it makes sense that something has to take a hit here, right? Now at base 5-star level 120, we're getting HP 32 points, physical defense 20, The support abilities are physical attack boost, and circle sigil boost. So it is nice to see a circle sigil break on there, or any type of sigil break. This would definitely be a main hand weapon for Barret, as you guys will see later on with the very high physical defense stat in the second R ability. And it is a physical focused weapon, so it's nice to see that the support abilities match. Alright, now let's take the weapon to OB6. Alright, so physical attack 565. Dragon's Roar plus ATB 4 cost, deals 480% physical non-elemental damage to all enemies, crit rate 10%. The provoke is still 60 seconds. Veil goes from 6% potency of max HP to 8% potency of max HP. And the duration increases by 5 seconds with an extension of 10. And the last ability, the physical defense buff, when HP is 70% or more, physical defense is increased. Potency mid, range all allies, max potency high. Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit bummed that this isn't high on the first cast. I feel like with such a rare weapon, I honestly feel like even though I can understand why it's mid to mid at base 5-star, I don't think it would have been absolutely game-breaking to make it mid to high at base 5-star and make it a single cast high at OB6. I feel like that would have been better for the weapon. You know, I guess you could pair this with his old limited weapon to easily take it to high, but, you know, having to double cast anything in the game is not always the easiest, not always the most efficient. Now, Barret is probably going to be, you know, in a state, I don't know if he would be spamming this. It really depends on what kind of content you're fighting in the game. But, you know, I would say that's really my only gripe with the weapon, is the fact that even at OB6, you have to cast it twice in order to get the physical defense buff to high. That being said, guys, it doesn't mean that the weapon is not great. I still think that the weapon is great. It's great more so in the sense that it opens up an entire new path for Barret that didn't exist before, and that is the path of a tank, right? So having Provoke and Veil, you know, being able to pull that away from Angeal, right, now gives us two options in the game, although this isn't much of an option since it's a limited banner, and after this is gone, who knows when it will come back, but it is somewhat of an option, right? It does give people the chance to choose between Angeal and Barret, right? Now, Barret, I would say, is now the best tank in the game, and that's because, you know, he can do physical defense high, mid to high, right? He could even do it high on the first cast if he used the assault gun, right? So in that way, the assault gun is still better, just in that one regard, right? Then you have the Escutcheon cannon, which raises magic attack all to the team and magic defense, I believe. So he has access to physical defense up, high, magic defense up, high. He has access to Provoke. He has access to Veil, right? He has a costume that has physical magic defense plus 20%, right? He also has another costume with basically every single element resistance at 20%. He has a reprieve costume. So, and then on top of that, he has his ultimate weapon, which reduces physical and magic, just basically creates, let's go look at the actual ultimate weapon here, because I always forget exactly how they word it. Physical magic resistance, something like that. It's a new feature. So Mako Gem Exchange, here's Barret, missing score. All right, physical resistance, magic resistance, 50%, guys. Now, the duration's only 15 seconds, so you're going to be casting this, you know, like before a boss's major hit. But, I mean, we have physical defense high, magic defense high, Veil, Provoke, physical resistance, magic resistance, both 50%. I mean, the dude has access to every single way in which that he can, you know, mitigate damage for the team, which is insane. And then on top of that, the R abilities here are magic defense, right? Then we have an enhanced interruption Veil, where he can also cast Veil on himself through the use of his ultimate weapon. And the magic defense here pairs perfectly with the physical defense of this weapon right here, right? Now let's take a look. What do we have it at OB6? So right here at OB6, we have HP at 40, physical defense at 36, guys. Now if we take this to OB10 and you look at the R abilities, we're going to have HP 46, which let's assume this is in the main hand. It's going to give you 70% HP. Physical defense at 52 is going to give you 70% physical defense. Plus he's going to get 20 points on the magic defense, which is going to give him 30% magic defense on top of that. Barret is going to be a freaking unkillable beast out there, guys. He truly is the Dragon King right now, which is pretty freaking cool. And although I wish this was high in the first cast, I still think that I am going to pull through to the first stamp card. Now, I'm definitely not going to be pulling past that first stamp card. So let's go over and take a look at this stamp card. I'm guessing, yeah, so here is the crossover voucher. So we still got screwed on the second stamp card page right here. I think that it makes absolutely 0 sense that this option for the 12th stamp on the second page is not an option for us to switch between a guaranteed weapon or the costume voucher. This takes absolutely 0 consideration for anyone who already pulled Tifa's Rebirth banner and has this costume, right? So everyone who already supported the banner essentially gets something that they don't need. So now for players that didn't pull that and want Tifa's costume, this is awesome. But I think that it's imperative that Applebot take into consideration both new players and older players, right? Players that have already supported the game. This is just a very simple thing that just makes sense, right? So, you know, it is what it is. I'm glad that the cowboy or the guide gloves are not included on this, right? In the featured section. They did actually make it so that you can wishlist the guide gloves, which is a really good call on their part. And, you know, whether I will wishlist them or not, I already have the guide gloves at OB7. And so you're really wishlisting them. I mean, the single physical non-elemental damage is really high. But I will say, guys, that physical or non-elemental damage in this game is not Applebot's cup of tea, right? So, you know, for one, there's no imperil for non-elemental damage. So that's one less thing that they can sell people, right? If you notice, we never get we get so rare that we get bosses that are non-elementally focused, right? At the beginning of the game, it was nice because you could use non-elemental damage to make up for elemental damage, but that is absolutely impossible now. They completely killed that off, and so, you know, they're nice to have, but the time in which we can really use them is so slim, guys. It's really slim. The R abilities can be replaced by other weapons in the game that give physical attack and physical ability potency. So even though I have mine at OB7, I would love to have these gloves at OB10. I will probably choose my 5 wishlist items first and then see if I'm willing to drop one off for these gloves. But I am glad that they were not added to the actual odds for the banner right here. So if you go down, they're not here. Thank God, right? Because if they had put that here, that would have freaking sent me soaring, guys. I would have been so pissed off at that. But I'm glad that they did make the right choice right here. I think that how they did this was literally almost perfect. If they just change it so that we can choose on this second stamp card between weapon and fit, that would be great for me. Now, as for who should pull on this banner and who shouldn't, guys, this is a really tricky thing to answer. So even though Barret is now officially the best tank in the game, in my opinion, I don't think that means that Angeal will still not be able to do the job. I definitely think that Angeal is going to be able to do the job. Now, Angeal is missing a magic defense up all. That's basically all he's missing. So, but in, you know, they're obviously going to be putting out content in the next 2 to 4 weeks that is going to try and, you know, put Barret in a position where you need to use him. So it might be hard to use Angeal in the next few weeks, but I think that once this kind of wears off, it's going to be easy to use Angeal again. And Angeal is already focused as a tank, so once we get to the point in the year when his ultimate weapon comes out, guys, I think that he's going to retake the throne over Barret. And they're going to basically go back and forth between the two of them, right? So, you know, I really think that for me, the reason why I'm pulling on this banner is mostly because of the hype of the costume. I think it's really cool. I like that the costume has a wide, you know, range of value, that it can be used in a lot of different circumstances. I like that in the game, especially with, you know, how hard it's become to, you know, keep on playing the game without like just dumping money into it, right? So I like things like Tifa's New Year's costume, which is basically a elemental wide arcanum, just 5% short. I like things like Barret's costume right here, which is all the elements, 20% resistance. You know, it's usable in so many different forms of the content, but I don't think that it's necessarily a must-pull banner, guys. I think that for me, really, I just really like this costume for Barret, and it's just a bonus that the weapon is pretty great and the costume is amazing, right? Because I was already on the fence for pulling for the costume, and I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. So, as you guys can see, it's probably not in my best interest to pull for Barret right now. There's no way that I can pity this ultimate weapon. So I would have to get really lucky on one single stamp card and get the missing score, which is crazy, right? It's like trying to throw a needle through a pinhole. And so realistically, for most people in my situation, if you have around 50,000 crystals, I would recommend just waiting for the 1.5 year anniversary, guys. You know, Angeal is already a phenomenal tank. He's great. Other characters in the game do magic defense up, so it's not like it's like completely not get aroundable. And so, you know, I think that for this banner, you really just gotta like check in with yourself and see, you know, is this something you really want? Is Barret a tank that you want to pursue? Or are you okay with using Angeal as a tank, you know? And if you're okay with using Angeal as a tank, and you're not really into this banner or the costume or Barret as a character, then easy skip, guys. Move on to the 1.5 year anniversary and wait till then, right? Realistically, you want to go into the 1.5 anniversary with like 80,000 crystals. So I'm even less. So even if I pull, worst case scenario is I'm dropping down to like 20,000 crystals or something like that, maybe 30 since I have some premium tickets. But still, that's not really great amount of crystals to be going into the anniversary. So, you know, guys, it's hard to say. There's so many different ways to look at this banner, but I think you just gotta follow your hearts on this one. Limited banners are always tough, and you know, a lot of people are going to want to be getting this to OB6, right? Because they unlock that high tier cast. You know, for me, this is going to be a real slow burn build. I have the 400 weapon parts for Barret, but there's no way that I'm going past the first stamp card, especially with the 1.5 year anniversary right around the corner. So, you know, if you guys have like 80,000 crystals plus, then I think you're safer to go in on this banner. But if you're at 50 or less, really only go for this if you really love Barret, if you really love the costume, and you really want to make it work. I think it's great overall. But then also, if you guys see here, it ends on February 26th, so you could wait. There's no rush to necessarily go about it. So you really just got to take that time. And the game has become, like I said, harder to keep up with. So we really got to take our time and ponder the decisions for which banners we choose to go for, in which banners we choose not to go for. So all in all, I really love the idea of Barret as a tank. He was a tank for me in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I still love Angeal, and I like to use Angeal, and like realistically, or hopefully, I'll get to use them both. But you know, this costume just looks so sick. The weapon's cool. It unlocks a different avenue for him, and for me, that's worth it for me to spend the crystals. But you just got to ask yourself, is it worth it for you? And honestly, I cannot answer that question for you guys. But yeah, that being said, that is going to be my to pull or not to pull video. If you guys are pulling, I wish you guys the best of luck. If you guys are choosing not to pull, I wish you guys the best of discipline in waiting for the 1.5 year anniversary. That being said, if you guys enjoyed this video today, please don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to the channel for more Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis content. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.